Good afternoon, students. Starting off the English literature class today with the thought of the day: health is wealth. To keep healthy, we all need to boost our immune system. So, is immunity on your mind? There isn't any pill that will work overnight. But yes, you can start now with oranges, lemons, carrots, and herbs like garlic, ginger, or even yogurt or curd, which can boost your immune system. So, keep healthy. In the last class, we talked about Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. Ode to a Nightingale. What is ode? Well, an ode is a kind of poem usually praising something or someone. An ode is a form of poetry expressing emotions, and it usually addresses someone or something, or it represents the poet's feelings on that person or thing. As Keats in his ode tells us what he thought as he listened to the birds singing. So, ode is addressing someone, praising someone, glorifying someone. Like he says, thy winged, light winged birds, or thy you happy lot, you bird, the birds who sing, and we feel good about it. So, John Keats is all about all praise for the little birds, the nightingales, who sing and gives us immense happiness. So, moving ahead with the next lines, though it's a fairly large poem, let us talk about John Keats and why he wrote this poem. Like, John Keats was born on October 31st, 1795, and died on February 23rd, 1821. And it is said that he was clutching his friend's hands when he died. And he died of tuberculosis. There was no cure in those days, so he died of tuberculosis. So did his mother. He lost his parents at a very early age. Like when he was 8 years old, his father died. His father was a stable keeper, like he used to take care of horses, and he was trampled by the horses he was taking care of. Trampled means in Hindi it's kuchalna. He was trampled by a horse, and then he died. And he was left with he was the eldest of four siblings, and then when the youngest died, his youngest brother, when he died, he was all shattered, and he felt the pain so much that he felt that there's no point living, and just to forget his pain, he goes to his friend's place to spend time there so that he may forget it. He may forget the pain. So as he was sitting outside on the bench, he heard the nightingale sing, and then he felt good. That he says that he has not taken any medicine, he has not taken any pill or any painkiller, but then why is he feeling so good? So the nightingale took his mind off everything which hurt him. So moving ahead with the lines 21 and 22. The poet wants to fade away, fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known. The speaker says that he wants to fade away, he wants to go away, he wants to be one with the darkness, with the nightingale, and be with the nightingale. And he says that the nightingale, they never know what the humans suffer. The sufferings, they are unknown. The speaker dreams of fading out of the world or just disappearing in a very quiet way. He wants to forget about those things that the nightingale has never had to worry about, like human problems and worries. The bird is free of such cares. We think a lot about the humanity, the human race is always fretting and always thinking and always suffering, but the birds out there singing, they do not know what we suffer. Lines 23 to 24. The weariness, the fever, and the fret here, where men sit and hear each other groan. He says that the weariness, the tiredness, the fever, the sickness, the anguish, the worry. When people sit together, they only talk about problems and pain and grief and suffering. The world is full of tired and weary people. Tired people, weary people, sad people, and sick people. Then massive stress, a lot of stress around, tension around. He reduces all of the society down to one depressingly exaggerated image. People sitting around and listen to each other groan and complain. Groan to feel sad, to feel bad, when you sigh and when you cry and you complain that you're having this problem, you're having that problem. So the speaker negatively says that the human race is all about depressions and sadness. Lines 25, 26. Where policy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. Keats says that very few people reach that old age to live a long life, and when they become old, their hair becomes grey and the youth grows pale and spectre thin. It means they become so old, so sick, and they become spectre thin, so thin that they resemble like ghosts, like skeletal, and then they die. So, in this section, Keats confronts one of his favorite enemies, time. So, time was his favorite enemy because he died very young. And he saw a lot of sorrow. He saw his parents dying, he saw his brother dying. So he thinks very few people are lucky enough to grow old, or lucky. He doesn't feel that they are lucky. He feels that it's very sad that the longer they live, the sadder they'll get. So in this section, Keats confronts one of his favorite enemies, time. Time is the speaker's enemy because it causes young and beautiful people to turn old. So with time, beautiful people turn old, pale, thin as a ghost, and eventually dead as a doornail. So dead as a doornail, it means they just die. Even when they are living, they feel that they are dead. He decides to take the whole depressing images thing to a new level, describing the world as a place where the uncontrollable movement of illness shake the last grey hairs of a dying man's head. Palsy is a disease that causes sudden involuntary movement, and so this grey hair person is no long capable of controlling his own body. Put it simply, time equals death, death equals bad, so time equals bad. Lines 27, 28. Where but to think is to be full of sorrow, and laden eyes despair. So even thinking about it makes you feel sad. And young, beautiful eyes when they become old, they lose their beauty. The world is a place where any kind of thinking leads to depressing thoughts and worries. Any kind of thinking leads to worries. There are no thoughts that can ultimately bring joy or peace. Thinking itself is the problem. The world totally wears people down and tires them out. So the world is all about unhappy people. And this reminds me of the song, Ye Duniya Ye Mehfil Mere Kaam Ki Nahi. So this is a very sad state of mind. Lines 29 and 30. Where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. The speaker continues to explain why the world of human time is such a bad place. Neither beauty nor love can survive there for long. Beauty loses her glowing, lustrous eyes, probably when they become laden from depressed thoughts or maybe just from old age. So when you're young, you're beautiful, but the beauty fades away. The beauty fades away as you grow old. Lines 31 and 32. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his parts. And again, he is addressing the nightingale, away, I'll fly with you away, with thee, with you. And this time, I will not be charioted, I'll not be riding Bacchus or his paths. Like Bacchus is a Greek god of wine, and his companions. Like now, he doesn't need any drink, he doesn't need anything, he doesn't need even the god of the Greeks and his companion. Even they cannot soothe him, they cannot make him happy. So, this is the time when he doesn't even want to have the wine which he was so much wanting to. All this thinking now, how depressing the world is, makes the speaker think, get me out of here, get me out of here. He needs to hatch an escape plan. He needs to program an escape plan. He wants to fly away to join the nightingale in its refuge from the world, to get away from the world. But he knows that the booze isn't going to take him, the drinking isn't going to take him. He can't rely on Bacchus, the Greek god of wine, or any of his friends or companions, which is what he wanted earlier in the poem. But now he doesn't even want that. He just wants to fly away with the nightingale. Lines 33 to 34. Put on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retards. Poesy, like the wings of poetry. Instead of wine, he is going to fly on the wings of his own poetry. Poetry's wings are invisible. The poet can go anywhere in the world, which is viewless, you cannot see. He is hopeful that poetry will take him to the nightingale's world, even though his brain is not so helpful in making the trip. His brain confuses him and slows him down. Lines 35 and 36. Already with thee, tender is the night, and happy the queen moon is on her throne. And now he is already there. He's already there in his imagination. He's already there with the nightingale in the jungle, and happily the queen moon is on her throne. So the moon is the queen, according to the imagination of the author, and is on the throne. There's a full moon night, and then all of a sudden he is with the nightingale. He joins the nightingale in his dreams, in his imagination, because the imagery in this section is associated with darkness and night. He is in the kingdom of the night, which is soft and tender, and the moon is visible in the sky. Lines 37 to 40. Clustered around by all her starry phase, but here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown through verdurous gloom and winding mossy ways. Now he is saying that the moon is surrounded by her attendants, phase, the stars. The moon is the queen, and the attendants, the stars, are the attendants. Despite so much of source of light, there is no light in the nightingale's world beyond what filters down through the trees, because in the jungle it is so dark, and it's a thick jungle, it's a thick forest, and little bit of light is seen coming down from the trees. Lines 41 to 42. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs. The poet says that it is so dark, he does not know what kind of flowers are there, what kind of soft incense or perfume that are hanging from the boughs of the flowers over there. The speaker remains in the nightingale's nighttime world. Without light, the speaker cannot see the flowers on the forest floor or the plants that produce that pleasant, beautiful smell. Lines 46, 43 and 46. But in embalmed darkness, guess each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endures the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn, and the pastoral eglantine. Lines 43 to 46, very poetic. Because he can't see, he has to guess. It is so dark over there. He is guess. Sweet flowers and plants. He smells. He can smell it, but he can guess what flowers are there in the forest, which depends on what month it is. It is delicious guessing game. So he is guessing what kind of flowers are there. What flowers are there? The darkness is embalmed, where balm is the sweet smelling substance like perfume. The balm is always with the pain balm that you use when you have a headache, it soothes you. So this perfume of flowers is like a balm. He is guessing all kinds of different plants like grass, the fruit trees. Wait. And he says, I know this one. White hawthorn. No. It's eglantine. So all these are the names of flowers which he is guessing. It might be this, it might be that. So it is just like a guessing game. Lines 47 to 50. And fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. The speaker names more plants that he smells in the darkness. He also begins listing things that he can hear. This section all relates to the experience of being alone in a dark but not a frightening forest. Like he is rather enjoying the forest, he is enjoying the perfume, he is enjoying the flowers, the smell of flowers, the feel of being alone there with the nightingale, and everything is so good that this is the moment he wants to leave this world forever and never come back. Lines 47 and 50. He sees violets, a summer flower, and the musk rose, a flower that blooms in May. The dew of the musk rose is intoxicating, like the wine he spoke of earlier. He hears the sound of flies on a summer evening. So it's all a feel good feeling, and he feels good. He feels intoxicated. He's lost. He is in a state of a dream world, which is making him feel good. Lines 51 and 52. Darkling, listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeless death. So he talks to the darkness. Darkling, darkness, darkling. Listen. The speaker moved from smell to sounds. Now he says that he is listening in the darkness. What is he listening? The experience of being alone in the dark seems related to the experience of death, and he thinks that maybe death wouldn't be so bad. This is easy, he thinks. I could get used to this. Death would be another way to free himself of all the worldly cares. Lines 53 and 54. Called him soft names in many amused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. So he's talked about darkness in his earlier poetries also. This is turning into a love story between the speaker and death. The speaker whispers sweet nothings to death, and by the whisper we mean writes rhyming poetries about, yes, it's true, Keats was obsessed with the idea of death, and he often wrote about it. Line 54 is mysterious. We think it means either that he wants death to take the air from his lungs, or that the air takes the breath along with his verses. Maybe he died young. Maybe this feeling, he had an inkling, an inclination, maybe an intuition that he's going to die. Lines 55 to 56. Now more than ever seems it rich to die. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to seize upon the midnight with no pain. He is really quite taken with this death idea. while in the world of the nightingale, he thinks it would be rich to die, good to die. Many people are afraid that death will be empty, but richness is associated with an abundance of good things, which is almost the opposite of emptiness. He'd like to go out quietly in the middle of the night. He's just He'd just stopped existing, ceased to be. This part of the poem is kind of creepy because Keats did die very young. Lines 57 to 58. While thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in rich, in such an ecstasy, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. He wants to die at midnight while listening to the nightingale. While listening to the nightingale singing, we were wondering what happened to the nightingale. He seems to forget about the nightingale at the beginning of the stanzas and then return to it at the end, as if he suddenly remembered, oh right, this is supposed to be a poem about a bird. The nightingale is kind of like a poet's sending his voice deep into the air, just as Keats sends his rhymes into the air. The bird's music expresses its soul. Birds have souls. This one does. The bird is completely lost in the moment of pure joy and ecstasy. The poet is again praising the bird, the nightingale, the song, which is just simply beautiful and fills him with joy and ecstasy. Ecstasy, a feeling of extreme happiness. Lines 59 and 60. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy requiem become a sword. The requiem is a funeral song. Sword is a grass. He imagines what would happen after the moment of this death. Basically, the bird would keep singing as if nothing had happened. The speaker would still have ears. Of course, at least his corpse would, but the ears would be useless because there is no brain to process the sound. The bird would be then singing in a very high note, a kind of church service with with music which is sung for the person who are dead. Lots of classical musicians have composed amazing requiems, the Mozart, but we'd bet the Nightingale probably doesn't know it is singing one. And neither would the speaker, of course. By that point, he'd just be an inanimate object, just like a piece of grass, soil, or sod. Well, that's all for today, and we'll come back again with more lines. Thank you.